Hey guys, welcome to today's video on the fitness habits for the unstoppable leaders, those that make it very sustainable. And if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Elika. I'm an energy optimization coach and a trusted advisor for purpose-driven leaders who want to have way more energy because you know that's what you need to create the biggest impact in the world. So when it comes to fitness, I know that there's so much of an all or nothing approach. And I definitely you see with high performers that they want to go all in, they want to go hard or go home, that kind of attitude. And I have been guilty of this myself. As somebody that I would describe myself as having a naturally athletic frame, a body that responds to muscle building, weightlifting, and just generally endurance as well. Pretty well, like above average, pretty good scores when it came to anything fitness when I was in school and college. And generally, when I find myself moving into a new exercise form, I can pick it up quicker than the average person. And sometimes that's my problem, because sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I apply this to the way that you build your fitness habits in a way that is very realistic, sustainable, and will have you optimized for performance in all areas of your life rather than depleted. So let's go into what would those habits look like. And I've identified what I see to be the consistent habits that those that make it, that those that like last the test of time, this is what they do. And I'm included in that because since I've been able to sustain these habits for over a decade. I mean, now I'm talking about 15 years or more, and especially when it comes to fitness. I don't mess around when it comes to being consistent with my fitness. Despite having fluctuations in other areas, I would definitely say this one, I'm really good at being realistic and therefore sustainable. So I've made some notes on things that I really want to share with you as these habits. So the first one is you actually train for energy as opposed to aesthetics. So of course, we all want our physical body to look a certain way. And as I always tell my clients, think about what is the purpose of you training, because most of them don't want to be a triathlete. You don't want to be a professional weightlifter or a bikini model. So why are we training in a way that has that level of discipline if that is actually not necessarily our goal? And so what I've realized is that we can be really realistic in what we actually want and therefore make it easy for ourselves to get the goals. And I see that most of my clients, they just want to look good naked. And what you do for that is very different to if I want to be getting a certain number in a marathon, right? So when you train for aesthetics, you might not actually be training for what you truly desire. You may be over-disciplined in terms of your nutrition, the quantity of exercise that's required, the intensity that's required. So we have to actually realize that we're training for energy. What does that mean? I want to have no struggle in lifting up my shopping, picking up my suitcase when I'm traveling, going upstairs, pulling myself onto something, whether it be, I don't know, a wall or a climbing frame. I don't know what I'm pulling myself up onto these days, but do you get what I mean? There's this feeling when you know that you can do things that's really easy. I was on a boat the other day and I noticed that it required me a lot of flexibility to actually get around and maneuver around a certain area where I wanted to sit. And I also found that it took me balance to move from the pier onto the boat in the way that it was anchored up. These are functional moves that you know that when you don't have them, that you haven't optimized for the right things. The energy that you want to use in your life every day, the type of life that you want to experience, have you optimized for that? And so for me, and I know I've shared on other videos how I approach and I call it movement plan as opposed to fitness, but how I approach my movement plan is so balanced and harmonious across different areas that gives me a little bit of expertise in each area. And I'm not master of one, but I'm very good in a functional movement pattern that a normal human being has to experience every day so that they can use their energy in the way that they want. So this is about optimizing for energy versus aesthetics. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about when it comes to fitness habits is definitely the morning routine. For me, you have to know the way our biology works is optimized for morning workouts. it doesn't matter whether you have a certain life or habits or, let's say, chores or responsibilities that require you to do certain things in the evening that may, or in the morning, should I say, that may allow you to have more space or time to exercise in the evenings. You can go for that. But what we're talking about here is that we are actually optimized to work out in the morning. Men experience a testosterone peak in the morning. We actually have our cortisol peak first thing in the morning, which, think about that. That was the energy, the drive, the hormone that like gets you up and alert, let's get going, right? From an evolutionary perspective, that was really important when there was no longer darkness and there was light, when you were more visible, to get you up and moving, to get you out there foraging for your food while you can see. And so we didn't have gyms and we didn't have, YouTube video workouts, but our movement was our daily chores, like foraging for food. And so we are wired to be optimized for that movement in the morning. And so what I see is that, like, high performers, they protect their mornings, they're sacred, and they know that's a very holy time. And within that, you can have various things, prayer, meditation, breath work, but the movement in there is really allowing you to generate energy in the body whilst you can optimize, whilst you have everything on your favor. Ideally, good rest, good sleep has occurred. Ideally, you have fueled the day before to optimizes you to be able to move forward, even if you haven't fueled directly before the workout. And of course, fueling for the workout will depend on the type of workout you're doing. And mind and energy, hormonal patterns through the body are optimized for you to optimize in the morning. So I think carving out that time and protecting your morning is a fantastic habit. Okay, there is a way that I work out where I would say that I do what I need to do, nothing more and nothing less. You need to optimize by the minimum dose that you need. So let's just take, for example, building muscle. So if you study people that are really experts at building muscle mass, I mean, you're talking about like professional weightlifters, people that have trained the best of the best. They will talk to you about a certain amount of time that you need to put your muscles under tension in order to build them. And what I see is that when it comes to going to the gym or however you want to build your muscles, we can build our muscles at home with workouts that, put the muscles under enough tension. But you need to have 2 to 3 times a week to be able to do that. And I lean on the 3 times because I see the 2 times a week as maintenance. So for me, when it comes to building muscle, I want to make sure that I'm working out. And personally, I now do that in the gym. I didn't always, but now I have a gym at home. So I work out in the gym, and that's 3 times a week doing exercises that are specifically based on building muscle. Now, to me, that is the minimum dose that builds muscle. But if I want to maintain, I could go down to 2. And I would probably add on lots of other things to that. But I would say that 2 is the minimum dose, but 3 is my dose to continue and build, because I'm not actually looking to just maintain. I am actually looking to always grow and expand, usually in every area of my life, to be honest. But yeah, definitely when it comes to the body. So you need to figure out what does that look like for you. Now, I know that in this season of my life, recovery is also hugely important. So my minimum dose of recovery is also more than what I actually put tension on my body. So my minimum dosage of recovery at the moment, currently, it looks like 2 yoga, home yoga workouts, and 2 kind of what I would say, low impact, like just movement, just circulation of the body a week. And then, once or twice a month, I might have something that really helps circulation, like acupuncture or lymphatic drainage or deep tissue massage. So there's a lot going on with my body when it comes to the minimum dose of actually recovery. But as a minimum, it's 4 recovery sessions a week as a minimum dose. And that's the way you want to look at it. What is your minimum dose of what is required for your fitness habits, as opposed to like optimizing for like extremity, like looking at, oh God, I've got to be in the gym every single day. that kind of thinking, I've got to be in the gym every day, doesn't allow flexibility, and it doesn't really seem intentional about what your true goal really is. And I get that for some people, that's habit formation. So if I go in the gym every day, even if I don't do much, at least I've made that habit, great. Because that's not pushing yourself in intensity whilst you're there. But I do think that, like, when I hear people saying, I've got to be in the gym every single day, I mean, it's great for those that have already got to mastery, but I think for the average person, that's a bit extreme. Okay, I want to talk about muscle versus cardio or other things that could be optimized. Now, to me, a really brilliant fitness habit is to make sure that you prioritize muscle. Why? All the benefits around muscle. Firstly, we need to protect all of our body. And muscle protects the bones, muscle protects the limbs. So muscle protects you from blood sugar spikes because muscle is a sugar disposal system. Muscle protects you emotionally. Like, how much do you feel confidence running through your body, or notice just that you just feel so much more confident in every room that you walk into when your body is held up by muscle, because muscle is like that invisible spandex. So muscle is an organ that is so important for longevity. And when we focus on putting muscle first, it means that we can add on the other things with so much ease and flow. Like think about it. If I want to go to the gym, I might have to walk to the gym, I might have to do a warm-up, I might have to stretch afterwards. So if I put muscle as the primary piece, it's a bit like putting protein on the plate first, then it means that I can add on the other little, the side salad, right, the stretching and all that. I can add that on either in different days or in addition to the workout that I'm doing that is focused around muscle, and I can complete so much more. So I think a fantastic habit for fitness is making sure that you prioritize muscle as your fitness priority, as opposed to looking at, maybe just the things that are mainstream or taught to us as the things that you do, like running, swimming, jogging, all of those things. Okay. I mentioned it before, but I think a really important one is recovery. Now, for me as a woman in her 40s, you better know that I am making sure that I take care of my vessel and I am rested and I'm recovered. But recovery to me means so many different things now. So I prioritize recovery as my fitness habit because I want to have a nervous system that is regulated. It's interesting right now in Dubai where, the UAE is going through a challenging time with, the missiles happening, and we are literally in the middle of a war zone. And without being dramatic, people are experiencing a lot of uncertainty. And I'm going to be honest, I check into my nervous system, and my only thing that I have to manage right now is how I respond to other people's fear response. Not my own, theirs. Because when they are throwing around videos and showcasing things that are AI generated and not actually factually true, and they are responding and attacking people that didn't say the right thing, this is all people's dysregulated nervous system. And so a fitness habit is also to make sure that you do things that create a parasympathetic response or set point to your body. Now, I know from a DNA perspective, I am actually sympathetic dominant. So my nervous system is genetically wired to go into the stress response. So I've had to do a lot of work personally to keep myself in a place of peace. And part of that is having fitness habits that are centered around bringing calmness, stillness, and restoration to the body. So of course that's things like breath work, but it's also things like just being able to do yin yoga for an hour, to just be comfortable with stretching, holding positions and breathing through them, and feeling the tension, feeling where my body wants to tighten up and relaxing it. And I have had practice like that for a decade. And so what you see is that you look around you and you notice that other people respond to situations, events, white swan events that happen that are completely out of our control. And they go back to their set point of their nervous system. And if my set point has been trained through my fitness habits to be under calm when I'm in an awkward position, to be able to stretch and go beyond that part of comfort in a stretch, you know, and also when it comes to muscle building, like those last 2 repetitions where you really push the body when it's really uncomfortable and you push through those last 2 reps. These are all providing a training for the body that is a resilience and an adaptation to stress. And so prioritizing calmness, rest, nervous system response is a really important part of how high performers create good fitness habits. Okay, definitely gotta talk about walking. Walking to me is a habit of all high performers, because think about it, it's the one thing out of all the exercises that we are all designed to do. Walking is something that you can do on the spot, you can do in your home, you can do outdoors, you can do on a treadmill, God forbid. I never get the people that spend hours walking on treadmill or minutes on walking on treadmills. I just don't get that. But walking is that movement that also symbolizes to the body that there isn't stress because you're just walking, but it gets circulation running through. It moves every muscle in your body. Every limb gets to be moved. And it's just so easy as a starting place, and so easy to think about how to build that in as a habit that can be consistent. So even though I will prioritize muscle first, having walking as a tool that you can just build in every day is so a habit that is going to create great sustainability around your fitness as a high performer. Okay, I think the last one for me definitely has to be about fuel. High performers, when it comes to our fitness habits, we know that we have to fuel our workouts. So we know that, for example, we just look at muscle, right? I said that that's your priority. In order to build muscle, you need to tear the muscle down, which is what you do in the gym. But good muscle is built in recovery. So we've talked about recovery. So it's built in sleep, because that's when the muscles recover. But it also needs building blocks to build back bigger and stronger, which is protein. So we need to fuel in a way that actually fuels the workouts that we're doing. So example, if I'm doing just yoga, I'm not going to go into yoga and have had a big exercise before I do yoga and know that I'm going to be comfortable to be flexible in some of the moves that I get myself in. So you actually fuel based on your workout. You fuel for your recovery. You fuel in a way that gives your body the nutrients you need. Like I take magnesium because I also want to relax my body because of some of the intense workouts that I do. I also make sure that my protein is consistently high and I'm eating adequate proteins, and I see where that skips. I also make sure I'm very hydrated so that I'm not struggling to work out because my body's dehydrated. You know, I also create my own natural electrolytes through, you know, adding vitamins and minerals into my foods or to my liquids to make sure that, again, that my body has been able to hold on to the water that it loses through sweat. So these are ways where you're also thinking about your fitness habits need to be fueled for them to be optimized. Now, I think that when you pull all these together, you create a workout that is really harmonious and really consistent. So I'm going to share with you what that would look like. So for me, that looks like I wake up in the morning, and in the morning I hydrate first. And for me, that's, you know, I actually use my doTERRA lemon oil. I like that in my water. And I like to sometimes add Celtic sea salt, and then I hydrate that way. Then I like to go for my workout, and my workout now will depend on how my body actually feels. So 3 times a week, which is typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing my weights. So I'm in the gym and I'm lifting weights. And between those days, I want recovery. So I actually do yoga in between those 2 days, yin yoga, where I get plenty of stretches, and I can actually personalize that on any particular body part. So I like to personalize that by focusing on the hips. Then 2 times a week, I like to go for long walks. I like to not be in the gym, not have a program that I'm running to, but just walk. Currently, I live near the canal, and so I love the long walks along canal. I can, you walk to one of the 5-star hotels that's near us and we could sip and have a matcha or a coffee or a sparkling water. And I just love having that balance. So you see how I harmoniously get the strength training, I get the flexibility and the rest and the relaxation, I get the walking, I get the hydration. And then of course, around that, I'm making sure that I'm eating. So for breakfast, my first meal of the day is usually after workout. So for that one, I want to make sure that I put protein on the plate first, and then I'm adding in my micronutrients, which is my fruits, my vegetables. And then my second and third meal, of course, sometimes I'm only having 2 meals a day. So definitely my second meal works the same. I'm optimized by putting protein on the plate first and supplementing the rest of the plate with my vegetables. So you can see how just by me focusing on the pillars, which is my 3 weight sessions a week, then adding around that the rest and the flexibility and the calming stuff, and then hydrating and then fueling. The only thing I would add to that is in the mornings when I hydrate, I also do a little bit of breath work, and I've spoken about this in some of my videos, but I do 4-7-8, which is the work of Dr. Andrew Weil. I love that breathwork practice because it's so easy, so sustainable. And I breathe in for 4 seconds, I hold for 7 seconds, I breathe out for 8 seconds, and I do that for 3 rounds. That is really brilliant for that nervous system work, that really switching that body into the parasympathetic, so the rest and relaxation mode, and really getting that body to adapt to dealing with stress by training it on how it should feel when it's at peace. So I hope that has really given you some clarity around how you can really optimize the fitness habits of high performers in a way that's sustainable, realistic. And if you like this video, give it a like so that it gets seen by more people, and you might think of somebody that you might want to share this with too. I always say that the best way to really learn about the things that I'm also quite vulnerable about in terms of my life and how I optimize my energy is by subscribing to my newsletter. So you'll see details on that below. I write about my own way of auditing my life through the lens of energy and how I bring that into daily practice and weekly practice. So I share that with you weekly through my newsletter. So I know you'll love that. So definitely subscribe there. And if you haven't already subscribed to learn about all of the habits that are realistic and sustainable that I use to coach the top 10%, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.